What's up, guys? Welcome to Operation B, the podcast. I am your host, Jamie Thurber, and I am here to take you on a journey of deepening, of expansion, of understanding more about who you are and why you're here and how to operate in an optimal way that allows you to do what you want to do, feel how you want to feel, take care of yourself truly, and support everything that your heart desires. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. This is your host, Jamie Thurber, and you are listening to Operation B. I hope wherever you guys are, you're having an amazing day. It is extraordinarily cold where I am, but I love winter, so I'm good with it. I'm one of those people who just likes every season for different reasons, just because at the end of the day, like, you can't control the weather. So I choose not to get upset about what the weather brings because, like, what in the hell can you actually do about it anyways? Nothing. So yeah, just my little tip to you. Getting mad about the weather is a waste of time because you can't control her. You cannot control the mother nature. Anyway, so today I wanted to talk to you about something that I've had to learn, but it's been a really beautiful experience. And this past weekend, I got to really see a different side of something I've been or not trying, I am successfully living by, but it's just what I think I'm still trying to do is to really digest it and make it the norm without me having to intentionally put myself there. You'll get what I mean in a second. So, if this is your first episode, I used to walk around and tell everyone how to get more shit done all the time, all the time. And not that I'm still not a productivity expert, because I absolutely am, but what I've also become is a productivity expert who understands how to do things in a way where you can still get a lot done and not burn yourself out. How do you position your world in a way where you can utilize the abilities that you may have to get a lot done and to be very productive and to be very efficient in a way that's not hurting yourself or your family or causing you burnout, causing you to need to like take a break from your life? I remember years ago, my doctor told me, Jamie, you should not need a vacation or a break from your life. You should not need time to recover from life. Like, that should not be what's going down. That's not the way to do this. And I remember being like shocked by that statement of going, holy crap, like I've never in my adult life operated in a way where I didn't need breaks from my life, where I didn't need recovery time from the way things were going. And so it was an eye opener. And honestly, friends, like if you're listening to this, my doc said that to me like 6 or 7 years ago. So I've been like trying to sort out how to do that for that long. And in a lot of ways, I made those changes a long while ago. But like now, in this past year to 18 months, it's hit a different layer. Now I really truly understand what he means, because it's not like I'm chasing my tail to get to a place where I don't need to recover from life, or I'm not doing so much that it requires recovery time. Now it's just a state of being and a state of like the way that I exist more than anything. And so with that comes a whole different layer of freedom and peace and confidence. And it's like every part of you is on the same page. Holy moly, that's a really big. When I say part of you, I don't just mean like the intellectual parts of you. I mean like body, mind, soul. All the parts of your body aren't just like losing their shit on you anymore, or like being ignored regularly until it gets so loud that you have no choice but to sit down. I mean, they're legit like everybody's showing up to work on time at the same time and like working together, and it's beautiful and there's no conflict. There's still conflict, right? There's still shit going on in my body that's not pleasant, and I'm still dealing with a lot of those things because we're still healing my physical symptoms and situations, but man, things have improved. And so my story I wanted to tell you about was there's a lot of things, and if you follow me on Instagram, you should, because I put a lot of great things on my story very intentionally to create a pause for anyone who's watching and listening, to create a space for someone to take a moment and think outside the box, breathe, become more present, whatever it might be, right? So it's Jamie.Thurber on Instagram. But like I do that not only because I like it, but I want other people to see it too, because it's so freaking important for everyone to understand what's going on. And so with that being said, I share a lot of stuff about the slowdown and how it's like a radical act in the world we live in today to move slower and to choose rest and to not be moving a million miles a minute like, Speedy freaking Gonzalez. Like that's something that we praise, this like busy whatever, and that's not, it's actually just a joke, and it makes me sad when I think about it, like how much you're missing out on when you're living in this constant state of like being a busy little bee, because it's really, I mean, it's a freaking lot, guys. Like it's a lot. So this weekend, something really cool happened. So I have a friend that I was introduced to by an, at the time, a client who said, hey, like I was his project manager. And he said, hey, I know one of my clients, it's a 2-woman team and they could really use your services. I'm going to introduce you to them. So he did, and they were awesome. And I became their project manager. And very quickly after that, the company actually ended up separating, or the partnership ended up separating. And I stayed on with one of the entrepreneurs and kept, and she was a mom. She had 2 little kids, and her life was very chaotic, and she would live by the phone and live by the answering messages and just rarely ever had a moment to be, but she thought that's how it had to be, which is what we all did, right? So at that time I was really transforming things from being only a project manager to doing like a hybrid, managing and coaching. And so she became my client. We kept working together. And I remember one day she sent me a message that she was sitting at the park with her kids. It was like the middle of the day on a weekday. They were playing, and she didn't even bring her computer with her. It was like a huge, huge moment. And so that was like 8 years ago or so. And we worked together on and off many times over the years, but we've been just strictly like great friends for a really long time. Back in the day, we used to get on Skype and like just be like virtual work buddies. We'd be working on our laptop. So her kids actually got to know me really, really well through the lady on the screen, basically. And so it's kind of funny because we've never lived in the same place. I've only met the kids a couple times, 3 times maybe. Um, and we're like family, so it's a really beautiful thing that the internet gave us both. Um, and, and the growth that's occurred in both of our lives and the way things have changed and bobbed and weaved has been really beautiful. And that's not my story to tell. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole. But the point of it all is we've seen each other in person at events. Like she came here when I hosted an event. Um, we met in Arizona at an event. I came to Utah for an event with her, and then I stayed with them. Like just a lot of things where we were either with like rooms full of people with very short amounts of time together alone, or we were with all of her kids, which is amazing and I'm grateful for, but we've never had time alone. So she is now in a really beautiful relationship where she has the ability to take some time to herself. And she came up for the weekend. So many of you don't know this, but I was asked by my doctors not to fly. Um, I'll have to tell you that this whole story about me leaving Utah and driving home because I couldn't, I was so sick. But after that trip, my doctors asked me, like, can you not fly on an airplane for a while we sort this out? What's going on with your body? I'm like, yeah. So I basically like grounded myself for over a year now. But I collect points, right? I have all these airline points. So anyway, I was like, you know what? Like, let me fly you up here and spend the weekend. And so what was amazing, and it was such a gift because we got to just be together. Like we didn't plan anything. And she had asked me, can you not plan 1,000 things for us to do while I'm there? I'd really just like to like be in space together, in each other's spaces. And so that's what we did. And what's funny is we went into it with the full intention of like, I bought all the groceries we needed with our dietary needs, and like we kept kind of everybody else away, and we were just going to be and like watch TV and hang out and talk and whatever we wanted to do. We ended up coloring in like meditation coloring books and talking, and I was crocheting and we were playing with the dogs and like all the stuff, right? Had great food, yada yada. We probably talked more in 2.5 days than we have in a year. But the thing I wanted to talk about and really point out here is while that was a very slow moving weekend, probably not what a lot of people would do when they're having their weekend away with their friend. But what also happened while us just being in each other's space, so much creativity and so much wisdom was shared, very much not intentionally. Just because when you put yourself in a space where you're able to be more present and move slower, like I mentioned in the episode about doing versus being, if you haven't watched that, you should, because it really explains the headspace, the energetic difference between the two states of being. And when we talk about like what happened this weekend, we were in the being. Even when there was like a little project I needed to finish before today for my client because she needed to use it for something. So I had to be on my computer briefly. But even in that, there was no rush. There was no anxiety. There was no pressure, no forced of the doing. And it was a beautiful experience and just so much ease in the weekend for both of us. And we ended up making like 3 business deals. Very oops, like it just happened. We're getting business for 2 different people. We have actually they're gonna her and her partner are gonna end up coming back here, and we're gonna have him on like 3 shows and her on a show, and potentially sell marketing to one of my people I know for them. Like it's gonna be a very productive, very win 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 for everyone involved situation, and it's like super low key and low stress and easy. And that's what's so I wanted to show you that example because it's really easy for me and whoever else on the internet to say, slow down. It's better for you to slow down. Moving fast and it's not actually how we were meant to operate unless we're like chasing an animal or running from something that was supposed to kill us. This lifestyle and this like rushy is just very, very hard on our bodies and our nervous systems, and it makes it difficult for us to connect. Like I was reading an article the other day about kids today and how the uh, diagnosis for like behavioral disorders and ADHD is so high. And now, granted, there's a lot of food related things that come into that just because of the quality of our food. But there's a huge connection between constantly being on the run and anxiety and hyperactivity reactions in children and their ability to not concentrate and have a really difficult time communicating and connecting. They get really agitated easily. They have anxiety. They have sleep problems. Like they have digestive issues. There's a lot of this is linked to running constantly on the go, like over scheduling your children. And this was not a thing when I was a child. Like my brother played sports. I didn't because I was never into that jab. But he played a couple sports and we were still never constantly on the go. Like we stayed at home. We had a lot of time with our family. We had a lot of time with our friends. We had a lot of time to play with our toys and be in our own rooms and do that kind of stuff. And I know a lot of my friends were the same way. I've talked to a lot of people about this because, of course, when I hear like a theory, I want to test it. So I ask a lot of different people who grew up in different areas with different walks of life and different kinds of parents and whatever. And so in like my generation, so I'm 37, my generation, that was not really a thing, like the constant being on the run. That started when we were in our like mid to late teens and then continued on through a lot of people now that never stopped operating that way. And it's a defense mechanism in some cases too. Like we want to constantly be on the move because when you slow down, you have to face things that you're trying to avoid otherwise. Like you have to just sit in front of your husband or wife or children and look at each other across the table and deal with them. and where we're taught a lot to just keep moving because then we don't have to deal with the uncomfortable things or the things that we're not sure how to deal with. And there's a lot of links between mental illness, anxiety, depression, um, heart disease, and then ADHD and a lot of these behavioral things in children and sleep issues that kids are having. Like kids are having to take melatonin. Like you should be running around playing all day and then be so exhausted at the end of the night. That's how we all were, right? So like melatonin wasn't even a freaking thing 10 years ago, meaning it like wasn't widely used, especially not on children. And so there's just a lot of data and stuff that are showing this research of the connection between the way the world has taught us over the past 15, 20 years that we're supposed to live in this super fast-paced way and how it's affecting everyone in a pretty negative fashion. And if it's not yet, it eventually does. It eventually catches up with you. So, all of that to say that I wanted to share the example of me and my friend Catherine being here together this week, especially how we used to exist. We used to like support each other in the doing and like freaking conquering the world every day and constant and all the constant things we were carrying around on our backs. The funny thing is, we're still doing amazing work. We're still helping a freaking ton of people. We're still not letting our families down, but we're doing literally a fraction of what we used to do with a fraction of the amount of pressure. And like this past weekend, our intention was just to be around each other and be friends, not to do anything business related, not to make any connections for people, whatever. But I was just sharing things with her and she was sharing things with me. And we made the connections and we got the plan and blah, 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 right? So it is really, really interesting when you start to think about it, how I have just witnessed. And I remember my coach telling me about all this stuff I'm telling you, me kind of wondering in my head, like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, that doesn't make, how is that possible that slowing down and doing less is going to make me more? Meaning, I feel more connected. I feel more supported. I feel more loved. I feel more present. I have more connections, like all the good more things that you want. I have, I have because I'm doing less. It's like a strange concept. And again, it's one of those things where it's like, man, practicing, I only preach what I practice, friends. Like, I'm never going to get on one of these episodes and tell you things that I'm not actively doing all the time or that I have not actually experienced or lived or witnessed. Never, ever, ever would I do that because, like, to me, that's just really difficult for the pieces of me that have to be really strong in integrity to do. I don't easily bullshit as far as I just don't. It's not my world. Um, so, for me sharing this with you, I kind of thought it was an important story to tell because it does offer this example that I'm not crazy. I'm not unique. Like, I mean, I'm unique in a lot of ways, but it's not like this is only for me. This is for everyone. And it's like you have to take a leap of faith. And it's also where you think about like the norm and then being the person who like wanders and does your own thing. The thing is that the norm these days is like misery and 1,000 pills and a ton of health issues and stress and anxiety and drinking because we're so stressed and partying and then God, we can't wait till Friday and oh, we hate Monday. Like that's the norm. That's not thriving. Yuck, I don't like it. So to be different, to excel in a different way, you take the path less walked. And I just shared with you where that can take you. Is it weird and kind of crunchy and a little uncomfortable along the way? Yeah, for sure. And you see it through and you start to reap the benefits, just like anything. So I wanted to share that story with you. Mainly, this was this like take your nuggets where you find them and run with them. There's something here that I'm sure resonated with somebody and probably all of it in different ways, which I love. I think that's beautiful. And so I just wanted to share that story with you and just kind of share like a real life example of something that just happened. Like I just dropped her at the airport. Um, that I believe would be beneficial to the Operation B journey and to the conversation that we're going to keep having. So, as always, I hope that you found comfort in this conversation and maybe some inspiration, some ability to change perspective, and continue to tweak things in your own world to fit what you need and what's best for you and your people. So, as always, if you have any questions, let me know. You know where to reach me. We'll put it below in the show notes also. And until next time, friends, have a great day. See ya. Thank you for listening to Operation B, the podcast. To support this message and to support the show, please make sure that you like, follow, and share the podcast wherever you enjoy listening. And be sure to leave us a review on iTunes. Thank you for being here, and see you next time.